serious chit chat. Grab your popcorn, sit tight, we're ready to roll. In the heart of Sacktown, we're feeding your soul. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star. With the NFL, Adams in the ring. Rhino's got the wisdom, hear the praises we sing. Court in session, it's a royal affair. With the fans all around, feel the passion in the air. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you
Monday,
people.
everybody.
Now, you're going to hear about it.
How we doing? It's an airing of grievances Monday. Hope your weekend went very well indeed. Fun weekend around my household. A very eventful sports weekend during a very slow time. And some of these stories, I mean, so much that we really can't get to. And actually some of it that I am not willing to get to. So if you were hoping for a Yankee fan take today, that's not happening. We can talk about Knicks fan, but we're not going to talk about Yankees fan. We've even got baseball outside of that we're going to talk about. But all the smoke, all the heat right now surrounds really, are the Kings going to make a move? Are they not going to make a move? Are they still in the Jonathan Kuminga? Can you even say sweepstakes? I feel like you're putting too much shine on Kuminga's name there, but I do want to break down some of the scenarios, and we can talk a little bit more about it on the phone lines. If you want to call in, you can scan the QR code or hit the link that's in the chat. You can put your messages in the chat. Obviously, that's what it's there for. Or you can well, actually, Al, let me know if you want the hotline. If Al needs the hotline, we'll get him the hotline. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into what it might look like if the Kings did make a couple of moves. And the one thing that I would encourage some of you to do is think about this with an open mind. This year, to me, is kind of starting to begin to feel like a big bowl of spaghetti. And Scott Perry's going to throw it against the wall, and he's going to see what sticks. He set expectations fairly low for this season. So with that said, remember, I kind of feel like the Beam Team era is over. This is different now. Yes, we want to be a defensive team, everybody says. You have a defensive coach, but that's not going to happen this year. You're going to be an offensive team. So how do you bridge the gap to get there? And that might mean parting with some pieces that, quite frankly, I am not super happy about, nor was willing to part with a few months ago. So we can get into all of the King stuff. We'll do that in depth. Thanks for being here again. Grant coming back at 7 o'clock tonight. Also, don't forget Jerry Reynolds, Tuesday, tomorrow. He'll be with us on the channel. More than enough to talk about basketball-wise with the Kings. And we'll get into anything else. You guys can do your questions to Jerry. He always enjoys taking those, as long as he can understand them. When you get into wrestling, it gets a little bit too obscure for Jerry. If you haven't been on the show in the last couple of weeks, we are on a march to get one more like than the previous day. So if you wouldn't mind, it would mean a lot to myself, Napes, the channel. Give us a big thumbs up. We appreciate it. Shout out, by the way, to one of my friends, Gail in Valencia, that shows up in the chat. She was on as a guest with Jim Rome on Friday on the After Hour, and she absolutely freaking nailed it. So good job, Gail. Really enjoyed seeing you there. Mondays are certainly for the sharing of grievances, but we also have Mondays for another reason on this show. Anybody know? Have a wild guess. We've upgraded the imaging here for all of you. Mondays are motivational Mondays here on the King's Court. don't look to get your motivation from me. We turn to Scott Perry. Mr. Perry, what do you got for us? Everything that we represent, everything that we become, everything that we do, all begins with a simple thought. Be very diligent in guarding your thoughts. Ooh, that's not good to me, Scott. I have to give my thoughts. But okay, let's get back on track. Be very diligent in guarding your thoughts. It is the thoughts and intents of the mind and heart that ultimately shape and mold us into the person that we become. Scott Perry, thank you, sir.
Yeet!
Another Monday where the King's Court is motivated, courtesy of none other than Scott Perry. How about that? You guys like that background? It's pretty cool, huh? Not too bad. Like I said, when we get super chats and we get other things, we upgrade this channel. Just wait till you see what's coming. Once basketball season rolls around, we are already in the works, and we can't wait to share it with all you when it is time to share it. But anyways, we've already kind of hit this. These are the two guys that Sacramento is talking about and what it might take to probably realistically bring in one. One makes more sense than the other. One we're going to dive into a little bit deeper than the other, and that's Russell Westbrook. And I think, and I put this out on Twitter, you saw Carmichael Dave. I saw he put something out that both sides are interested, which they are. That is true. I will confirm for as much as you want to know from me. But the only way a Westbrook trade, or excuse me, a Westbrook signing makes any sense, and I think what the Kings are waiting on is this: Jonathan Kuminga. What's going to happen with him? And again, I refuse to use the word sweepstakes. Kind of a guy that you don't know what's there, but he fell out of the favor of a championship coach in Steve Kerr. So are the Kings, in a sense, are the Kings looking to part with a young player? Devin Carter, I don't think is enough. If I had to circle a player on the list right now, it's Keon Ellis. I hate it. I don't like it on the surface, like many of you, but I'm going to kind of give, I want to give some further thoughts and context into why it makes sense for both sides. If this Kings team was ready to contend and play defense at a high level, all right, you know, you're not giving up Keon. If Jake LaRavia is still in Sacramento, you're not giving up Keon, but you don't have Jake LaRavia in Sacramento. And the reality is it the story as much as the player that you don't want to let go of? And for me, it's a little bit of both. It's a guy that is organically grown here in Sacramento, found, undrafted, and has grown himself into an asset that might be able to land Jonathan Kuminga in a first-round pick. That's pretty cool. And it's on an expiring deal. So we'll get into it more as the show goes. I want to talk about what a Schroeder and Westbrook backcourt in Sacramento could look like, because I think you are going to have must-see TV, and I think it's a consideration bringing in Russell Westbrook as well with his competitiveness. You're not going to get passive Russ. You're not. You are going to get competitive Russ if he comes to Sacktown. So we'll get into the Kings in depth. How about Nick Kurtz? A 4 home run night. We've got the audio from that. We'll discuss it. News today, Deion Sanders finally came forward at Media Day and spoke about what his health issue was and what he was going through. It was bladder cancer. He said that the cancer, he's cancer free, to quote him. I'm really glad that he is healthy. We'll hear a little bit of sound from Deion. Says he's going to be his same louder, boisterous self. There's one part of that I'd like him to walk back, but I did like his message today. So if you want to talk about him, we can. Also, ESPN came out with their off-season grades. I don't know that we're going to get to that. And I finally pulled the trigger on watching it last night. I was hesitating. I didn't want to ruin the first one. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I want to give my thoughts on Happy Gilmore. So you guys can get in here on that. And by the way, we still got grievances. So what's everybody talking about today? Let's get to all of you. Remember, phone lines open. Grant back tonight at 7 o'clock. Join him. Not sure that he's going to want to talk and speculate on rumors as much as we will here. But get up with Grant today. What's up? Let's go, Tristan. Yes, indeed. Motivational Monday. A Rhino Monday. Love it. Justin, what's up? Fred Dixon. Oh boy, I don't do it as well as Grant. My bad. See, that's why nobody can do it. Some things only the person can do. Unless you're T-Mobile and you try to steal Grant's tagline. You see how bad that went for T-Mobile? That guy didn't say it nearly good enough. So anyways, what's up, Fred? Hope you're having a good one. Anything else from the weekend that you want to get into? The only thing that I will cover in regards to Yankees baseball is Aaron Judge headed to the IR. That's it. Anything else Yankees baseball, you can go to Haunted Horses show. You can go check that out over there. This show, not happening. Don't forget to feed John Daly 3 times a day. Okay, we're going to start getting the quotes in. Let's talk Nick Kurtz. We will get to it, Beavis. I know you were asking for some more baseball. 13-game hitting streak right now, headed into Seattle tonight. I'm thinking he will keep that streak going tonight. At least I hope he does. And you know, the only thing besides the amazement, and it's one of those things. He went 6 for 6, and one of the balls could have gone out easily. Should have maybe gone out if he would have just had a little bit more on it. The first thought I had wasn't 4 home runs. It wasn't, holy crap, 6 for 6, 19 bases. It was, thank goodness he got to do it in a Major League Baseball park. Is that wrong? Am I being pessimistic by looking at it from that side of the room? Because I'm thinking if this was in Sacramento, you would have all of the media, to quote Mike Gundy, be downgrading his accomplishment. I'm happy for him that it happened in a Major League park. So we'll get to that as well. There was an super awkward press conference this weekend. You all know how we like press conferences. We'll get to that in the grievances. So my grievances, I think, are pretty solid today. Beavis, it should look like a championship if they got rid of everybody and sign winners. Yeah, if it was only that easy. So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah, not going to happen. Don't throw your crap against the wall to see what sticks. No pasta? What? Horse, man. Horse is going to have a show today. I can promise you that. Better offense or defensive moves, please. What's up, Jeremy? I think you've got to, well, here's where I'm at. This is a year probably where the best players play. I think this year, the most important thing that needs to come out of it is, what do you have in Keegan Murray? That to me is the most important thing. Secondary to that, it's, can Zach LaVine play himself into an asset? Because right now his contract is under the liability list. So what's that going to look like? But beyond that, I think you're going to see a lot of different basketball. Some nights it's going to look good. Some nights it's going to look bad, depending on the combinations. Maybe you're going to have a good matchup where defensively you can take advantage of a team. I think you're going to have nights with offensive explosions. But until the Kings, at least for this season, with this roster, that we're riding into. And you know what? That just reminded me. I had a dream over the weekend that it was like the second game of the year and Dougie McBuckets was the first substitution off the bench. What a weird dream, right? Super weird. I don't know why. Maybe because we're like, why would you sign Doug this early? He's going to be available. But my bet is it's going to be an offensive team this year with opportunities that you're looking to grow into that defensive team if you can flip players. And that's, I think you're on probably realistically, you're 2 years away from maybe having a team that can contend in the playoffs, depending on the moves that they can make, depending on how certain guys play out. But you can't base it off of defense this year. It's got to be completely offense. You don't have the personnel to do defense, to base it around defense. You have the coach, but you don't have the personnel. Want some coffee in your other eye, Shooter McGavin? All right, Justin, that's going to be his brand today. We're just going to be calling out Happy Gilmore. Oh, we have Dr. Shrimp in the house. What's up, Dr. Shrimp of Puerto Rico? Kings getting Kuminga? And are they sending back? I'm not saying the Kings are getting Kuminga, but it's been reported the Kings are very interested in Jonathan Kuminga. You can kind of see what Scott Perry's plan was going into this. He locked up the point guard because he wasn't sure whether the Russ thing, the wild card of all this that's thrown things off. We knew that Devin Carter was going to be judged on whether he could run a team this summer league, because Scott Perry is not going to go off last year, what you have on tape. He's going to go off of his eyes and what he sees against other guys. And Devin Carter was disappointing at running the point guard. Yes, he scored the ball, but disappointing when it came to running a game. So much so, second half of the championship game, the Kings, in my opinion, if you're watching it, you saw them abandon that experiment, and Mason Jones started the second half. A game before that against the Raptors, the Kings had 10 turnovers in the fourth quarter. They had 10 turnovers for the whole game up until the fourth quarter, and that was just not being able to handle pressure. So getting back to what you're asking, Dr. Shrimp. I love that, Dr. Shrimp. How's Puerto Rico, by the way? Here, it's a beautiful place. The Warriors are looking for a first-round pick, and they're also looking for a young talent. So if I was a fly on the wall in Scott Perry's office, my guess is the Warriors are asking for a first-round pick in Keegan Murray. And Scott Perry's saying, no.
Yeet!
Nope, not going to happen. So where are you going to move there? Malik Monk or Keon Ellis? Keon Ellis and Devin Carter? How do you make the money work? So I think you are somewhere in the realm of either Keon. I think Monk, probably not. I don't think it would be Malik, but I would not be surprised either if it would be Malik. I think the Warriors want Keon Ellis. Their preference is Keegan Murray, but I believe, and this is no reporting, I am just going based off of their roster. I'm going based off of their needs. They know they can't get Keegan. Kings aren't going to give him up. I think you circle Keon Ellis. They need a pest like that. So you would be giving up some return, but you have a logjam at guard. And that's why I don't think you're going to see a Russ signing until this Kuminga shoe drops. Could be very wrong. We'll see. No team wants Westbrook. We'll talk about it here as the show goes on. Light the beam, Dennis says. Let's see. Dr. Shrimp, man. Dion is a smoker. That's one of the causes of bladder cancer. I do not know if Dion's a smoker or not. I do not know. Royals beating Cleveland 2 out of 3. That was huge. Richard throwing in some more baseball. All right, I see you baseball fans. What's up, Rhino? Is this a hot take? Kings will be terribly defensively as a team next season. No, it is not a hot take. It is not. Because who's going to be your defensive guy? Okay, Nick Clifford, I think undecided what he's going to look like defensively. From a physical aspect, I think he's built well enough to be able to really give to the Kings, at least on the offensive side of the ball. I think he'll be scrappy regardless, but I wonder if you're playing Neek on a 3, if they're going to focus in on that matchup and try to take Neek down to the post. So question marks there. Max is going to need a couple of years defensively. You got to get him on the Keegan Murray quote unquote training plan diet and really bulk him up a little bit more. So you're going to have a defense, and he's going to play minutes this year. He's going to have to, unless this roster changes. So yeah, it's completely going to be an offensive team. Defensively, they're going to be bad. You only have Keegan. Okay. You have Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, and Devin Carter. Those are your 3 best defenders on paper. And Devin Carter is not going, in my opinion, it's going to be very hard for Devin Carter to find minutes because this isn't going to be a defensive-minded team. It's going to be an offensive team. And Devin Carter, while he showed the ability to score at times, he's streaky in the NBA. He's not Mr. Energy offensively for a team coming off the bench. He scored it in Summer League, but watch how he scored it. Those shots, I just don't see Coach turning to Devin. Maybe if you are getting killed defensively and you need a spark, maybe if you're going to run the zone defense and you want to get some longer arms out there and make sure, because when you run the zone defense, you're at a defense or a rebounding disadvantage, maybe. But I'm going to be turning to Keon Ellis before I turn to Devin Carter, certainly. So how are you going to have Keegan and Devin on the floor at the same time? I just don't, and Keon, don't see it. If you had Jake Laravia here, okay, now we're talking a little bit different. So what is Kuminga's stats last year? We'll talk about him here in a little bit as we get into the basketball coverage. Mark, thanks for putting that in. I want to make sure I say hi to everybody. Okay, I just saw that video of that fan. Hell yes, I'm talking about that fan. So you can go check out that fan. Whatever Haunted Horse is talking about right now, you can go check that out. Hate the Kings so much, man. Is that just because of the last couple years, Scott? I mean, to hate them, that means you probably loved them at some point. Because you usually don't jump to hate unless it's like a Lakers fan. Devin Carter, Jeremy Leak, not a point guard. Yep. He sped up the release. Oh, no, he has not sped up the release. I scratched that. The arc on it has come down a little bit. So, yeah, it's just not his game. He was not drafted to be a point guard. The Warriors want Keon, so he won't lock down Curry 3 to 4 times a year. That makes a difference. I'm not going to lie. Jake is not a king anymore. Dr. Shrimp, man. Do you guys have the dial-up internet in Puerto Rico? Yeah, that was the first shoe to drop here in free agency. So anyways, all right, let's get to a grievance, and then we'll get into the day. If you have a grievance, go ahead and call the show. Would love to hear from you. You can call us by using the link in the chat, clicking that, or you can scan the QR code that's on the screen. Let me make it just a very basic grievance. And these are going to progress, by the way. And some of them are going to come with drops, so I'm sure you'll have fun with that. But I have a very basic grievance, and it's this, as we get to the sound and effects, as we have renegotiated everything here with the soundboard. All right, first grievance.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
So my first grievance, and I hope you all take this the right way. Look at Luka, man. Luka did the work this offseason. Luka did the intermittent fasting, low sugar diet. Dude looks good. He should. He's in the capital of America when it comes to juicing fruits and salads that you've never heard about. He looks good. I'll give him that, right? But his diet during the summer, Tristan, come on. His diet during the summer is one thing. So the Lakers already saying that he's probably going to get an extension. The media giving him all this love. Here's what I want to see, Luka. Congratulations. Seriously. Anybody that puts in the time and puts in the work, I will give you that respect. But I can't make a full judgment until the end of next season. Do you know the amount of crap that is on an NBA chartered flight? Do you know what the rookies are bringing onto the planes regularly? Luka, I will be impressed when you are still not eating sugar when the Krispy Kreme donuts come on the plane, when you're not eating Chick-fil-A, when you're still doing your meal prep. Let's see Luka get through an 82-game season of refusing all of the foods that he probably at times had to fight his trainers to get a bite of, to get into this type of shape. But it's a great step forward. It's encouraging if you are a Lakers fan, simply for this reason. You would think being in better shape means that you're probably going to have a less likelihood of having some of those really kind of out of shape injuries that some of us get, where you go, like you're at the park and your kid wants to race you and you're like, all right, kid, let's go. And you start running and you hear the pop. Well, Luka was having some of those. They were having to sit him out for 2 to 3 weeks at a time just to get him to lose weight. So, Luka, congratulations. I'm cool with it. I'm with it. I know that you are a rival now, but I want to see if you can refuse all the same things that you refuse this summer when it's a lifestyle. He's going to have basically, or maybe they'll just give him his own part of the plane. Maybe that's what they should do. There should be the Luka section where it's greens, it's low carbs, it's lean protein, and then the rest of the plane that's closer to hometown buffet. So can we pump the brakes on saying, oh, this is it now? Luka is going to be the greatest ever.
The airing of
Pump
grievances.
the brakes.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
When you're on a 3 a.m. flight, seriously, you're on a 3 a.m. flight and you just played and you play again that night, it's going to be a tough ass to stay away from that Snickers bar or that Krispy Kreme. It's going to be a really, really tough ask. So good job, Luka, but we need to see more. I need to see how the season plays out. Since we've had a bunch of quotes in here already, I'll talk briefly about Happy Gilmore. And then we'll head into the Kings talk again. Would love to hear from you if you want to call the show. You can hit the link that's in the chat. I'll put it back in there, or you can scan the QR code. We're kicking you off today. Go until about 4:45, and then Grant returns at 7 o'clock to talk the weekend with you. I'm excited to see what he has to say about the baseball stuff. And I would probably stay away from asking Grant about Yankees fan. I just wouldn't do it. Jokic refused. You know what? I've got some Jokic material today that we're going to get into. Trust me, we've got some Jokic. But back to Happy Gilmore too. I've shared my reservations. I'm like, oh man, you're going to ruin a classic. We go through this all the time. We went through it with Dumb and Dumber. We've seen it work out okay. We've seen it go up in flames. And we've seen it somewhere in between the two. So I waited a couple days. I stayed off of social. I didn't want it to be ruined for me. Hopped into the man cave last night and popped in Happy Gilmore too. And wasn't sure exactly what to expect. And I'm not going to spoil anything. But I was within 30 minutes positively hooked on the movie. And it's because they were able to incorporate so many of the familiar faces in different spots that you weren't expecting them. When you were expecting a new face, it ended up being a familiar face. And it seemed like they advanced the storylines. This film was kind of a tribute to the first film. So I was all about it. But then, about 3/4 of the way through the film, it became really apparent to me. And think about the timing that they decided to make this. You got to think that this has some Tiger Woods behind it. Was anybody else watching them? Yeah, he was hilarious for sure. That's what I'm saying. It was all nostalgia, absolute all nostalgia. But you've got to think, with the storyline in the movie, that was kind of predicated off a Tiger. How could you not see the similarities? Some challenges, getting around. I'm gonna say this as well as I can without spoiling it. Some challenges getting around that ran into legal trouble, out of shape, came back, does what you think he would do, gets that one last great opportunity at a great win with the entire world watching. It had Tiger Woods written all over it, man. If I saw Adam Sandler, that would be the first question I would be asking. And if I'm Tiger Woods and I'm watching this movie, I'm like, damn, this is familiar, bro. This is really familiar, minus the money issues. But it was great that they got to bring back a lot of the original people. They used the new people well. So in my book, it was an A plus. I really, really enjoyed it. What'd y'all think? I thought it was winning. Winning. A lot of good pop culture stuff in there too. Yeah. So, anyways, give me your thoughts on that. And man, can you find any other places? Like, when I thought the last place they could possibly hide a liquid, I'm like, yeah, okay. They just find another one. It was so well done. Incredibly well done. So, anyways, back to the show. Let's kind of dig into this Kings thing. So, last week we heard that Ben Simmons was close to making a decision. Within 7 days, they thought Ben Simmons was likely going to be making a decision. Now, the Kings signed Dennis Schroeder to a fairly large contract, and it kind of threw many of us back. We're like, interesting. What was the rush? Why so much money? Some people thought it was a fair contract for Dennis Schroeder. Others, he's been on 10 teams. And then you ask Jerry Reynolds, and he says, well, that means 10 teams liked him. So we can't really judge what Dennis is going to be and whether that's going to work out. It's definitely a bridge, with the third year being not fully guaranteed. It's looking to be a bridge to when this team can hopefully be relevant. I have not heard this from inside the building or anybody around the team, but I think this is a 3-year process. I might be wrong. Maybe Neek comes out and surprises everybody even more than he did. Yeah, Scotty was great. That was awesome. Yeah, really good stuff. They paid so much more respect to the game of golf in this one with some of the legends, and even some of the legends that are not with us anymore. But tell me that the two major storylines in that movie are not exactly what played out in real life from 2019 forward for another golfer in another golf league. Think about that. Like, if I'm Tiger, I'm laughing at the first 30 minutes. Then 45 minutes rolls around. I'm like, huh, okay, interesting. Then an hour rolls around. Seems familiar. No. Then you get to the last part of the movie. Tiger's not laughing anymore. I mean, you could kind of put those timelines together if you want. But anyways, I move off the point. Back to the Kings in their timeline. 3 years, I think, is what it's going to be. So Schroeder gets you over that. Or at least you hope he can get you through those 2 years. Because what I'm looking at the timeline, the one big thing that I'm looking at is Zach LaVine. The one thing that I truly believe will accelerate the Kings timeline is if Zach LaVine just takes his game to a different level and he's able to stay healthy. Here's another thing that might accelerate the timeline: being able to play guys in their natural positions. Scott Perry. I've been saying all offseason, the Kings' biggest mistake was not playing guys. The last 2 years of the quote-unquote beam team, it was playing guys out of position. Now, the Kings thought they had a formula and a reason to do that, and we know where it ended up now. It's just not there. So, back to last week, Scott Perry talked about the importance of getting Keegan at the 3, making sure that you involve him. And I'm thinking, all right, I think Scott's kind of seeing some of the same stuff that many of us have been pointing out. So what could also accelerate it is just a true point guard being in the mix. You haven't had that. You've not had a true point guard in the mix, playing legitimate minutes for the last 3 seasons. But outside of those things, I don't see how you pour gas on this fire. If Zach LaVine was or is the Zach LaVine of last half season with the Kings, then this team's going to be right around that 12, 11, 10 spot. They just are. But if you can get him to play well and play himself into an asset, or able to flip him to a team that's looking for some type of expiring deal or is looking to go a different direction and they're desperately in need of shooting and their last resort was Zach LaVine, great. Maybe that makes the team better. When the Kings drafted Neek, I think they drafted him just as a basketball player overall. He's one of those guys that he's just born with it. He sees the floor. He can do a little bit of everything. He's kind of I think Jerry Reynolds and I talked about this. You want to put some comps on what you would hope Neek Carter develops into. You're looking for an Alex Caruso type. You're looking for a Christian Brown type. That's the type of player you're pushing Neek to be similar to. But I think his ball handling really kind of flipped the script for the Kings in the offseason. And that clogged up an already impacted backcourt. So now you've got the massive backlog, and it's not necessarily different types of guards. It's many of the same players. You can make an argument that although different in their strengths, Keon Ellis, Devin Carter, similar type of players. So you go for the sure thing. Notice that Schroeder's contract is pretty much in line with Zach LaVine's contract. That's your bridge to find out what you're going to have at the point. And can you get somebody to develop in the meantime? What's that going to look like? So 3 years to me is the plan. Now, how does Russell Westbrook fit into that? We'll talk about it in a sec. And what if the Kings do trade for Jonathan Kuminga and they lose Keon Ellis? What's that going to look like as well? We'll talk about it here in a minute because I think you're going to have an interesting situation on your hands. You are going to have a Russell Westbrook. Has Russell ever taken, with the exception of Denver, has Westbrook ever taken a back seat to his stars or to who the best players are supposed to be or who the offense is supposed to run through? Denver being the outlier, where I thought he did a pretty good job of that. He's never done that. Russell Westbrook has played with 9 MVPs. He's played with 9 finals MVPs, and he's never won a championship. He always wanted to be the guy. He got the opportunity to be the guy, and it wasn't enough to get the Thunder over the top. He's competitive as heck. So how do you think Russ is going to look up at Dennis Schroeder making 17 mil a year? It won't be about the money, but Russ is going to want to start. Is that going to be something that the Kings, unless you're having conversations with him and you're saying this is your role, I would love to have a reality TV crew following Russ and Schroeder in practice around. Russ will stir the damn pot. That guy's going to come in and compete. But does that throw things off a little bit? Some people think Russ was part of Mike Malone being fired. I think it was much bigger than that. I think the Russ stuff didn't help. So we'll get into all that and more, and we'll talk about how Kuminga plays into it as well. But like I said, call the show. Get in early, get in often, just like Mac. What's up today, Mac?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm okay. So for me, I think I've been vocal and told you this. What I really want to see the Kings, if they want to try to do like a win now and rebuild and try to have a star, if I'm the Kings, my option one is I would love to see them bring in Kuminga and see if they can make a superstar out of him. However, if that doesn't pan out, this team, I don't think this team is a playoff team or will be a playoff team. But I would love to see them have Westbrook because it gives you an excuse to go to the game, or at least it makes them a little bit more interesting. Because I do think their benches got worse, in my opinion. You've lost. I think that losing Valanciunas, you're relying a little bit too much on rookies. So they're going to take their lumps, which is fine, and that's okay, and that's what you want to build. But having Westbrook is kind of a good thing if you don't make that get Kuminga and you're not going to win, because like I said, it makes them a little bit more. It just makes them, having a guy like Westbrook. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I would spend money to go see Westbrook play, if that makes sense.
Mac, unless there is a different trade out there that isn't being reported, you can't bring Russ in. It's too many guards.
No, but I mean, even a Ben Simmons, I guess, would be okay. I'm just saying that this team as is, and if you're going to lose, which is fine, but I just, as a fan, I want something that would tell me this is why you're going to turn on the dial while we wait for that Levine contract to die. You know what I mean? Because as excited as we are about Max, and yeah, he looks like the right pick at where he was at. I don't want to pay $40 just to sit in the very top of the nosebleeds and pay whatever in parking and basically spend $100 on just going to a game just to see, to watch them not only lose, but then also see no superstar. Because I think at the way that this roster is constructed, you're going to have bad teams come in that don't have superstars and beat you. And that's okay. Again, that's okay. It's just like, remember when they were rebuilding and they had Vince Carter? Like, just give me a little something, if that makes sense, to turn on the dial and just be a little bit excited about. That's my take. What do you think?
Yeah, here's what I think. The Kings know they're proven commodities right now. You know what Sabonis is going to do. Defensively, I'm using Keegan as a proven commodity when it comes to the defensive side of the basketball. You, I guess, have to, by default, consider Zach LaVine a proven commodity. But the Kings have a lot of unknowns. I think Malik, maybe he's closer to a proven commodity than he is a wild card. I think this is the season, and what the Kings are setting up for is to see what we truly have with the young guys that we think fit our six principles the young guys that can be the glue that goes around, can be the side dishes
Mhm.
to whoever the main courses are here in Sacramento. I understand you're wanting to have a Westbrook or a Carter just for the pure excitement. I would say even when Carter was here, Kings fans knew it wasn't that Vince Carter. And if Westbrook comes, we know it's not going to be that Westbrook. So I don't think it makes that big of a difference. But where I do think it makes a difference is you look at the backlog at guard. You know, if those guys, both on and off the court, Schroeder, Westbrook, can install, can put any of that competitive spirit, add to push the younger guys to take their next steps and have that stay with them once those guys are out of here and the young guys are getting bigger and bigger roles, I'm fine with it. But I just I don't see it. I think the Kings are this is all about playing the young pieces and trying to get an idea of exactly what you have.
And see, that's why I like the idea. I think for me, because Kuminga is a little bit older but still young. That's why I like the move of Kuminga. I like the risk. The upside, if you got Kuminga, is so much greater for this organization than and also I think that they've got a lot the Kings, they've got a lot of nice 1B pieces. Like Sabonis is a great player, good fringe all-star, but he's not a perennial all-star. If Kaminga's upside is perennial all-star, like all-star every year, like that would help. It would just be, that's why I would go with that, because Keegan, great, I'm not trashing him at all, but he's not going to be a superstar. He's a good guy to have to complement a superstar. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I would really like to see this Kuminga move happen for the Kings, because I feel like they have so many nice pieces but not one shining diamond, if that makes sense. And I think that their complementary pieces would work well, and I'd like to see if Kuminga could reach the full potential with those complementary pieces. I think you'd have something. That's just me. But
Fair enough. I appreciate that. Thanks, Matt.
take it easy. I hope you have a good day.
You too, buddy.
All right, bye.
Be well. I understand Mac's point of view. I'm looking at Kuminga. Last year he made 10, or no, excuse me. The offer right now is 10,240,000, 287. What's the actual number going to be if it's a sign and trade for Kuminga? And just to give you an idea, the restricted four that I keep putting up, there were reports today that Josh Giddey and the Bulls are $8 to $10 million off right now. $8 to $10 million off with their negotiations. I think that's the question that I pose to everybody here. That's really the question. Do you think the Kings are ready for a Kuminga? Are the Kings ready to bring that guy in? And I use that guy very, very loosely, because it's not just the Kings that seem to think there's something there. There's a lot of other teams that have been paying attention. And I think a lot of other teams too. If this was a different year where teams weren't dismantling, I think there probably would have been a bigger market for Kuminga, because you have two groups of teams right now. You got two sides of the school playground. You've got those that are going all in for championships. And then you've got those that know they have no shot at a championship. because either their star is going to be missing the majority of the season. That's 2.5 teams. The Celtics, Halliburton's already been announced that he'll be out next season. The Pacers did that a couple of weeks ago. And then Dame Lillard going back to Portland. So you know which teams are offloading the salary. Boston. And then you've got the small group of kids that are in detention, and they're not even on the playground. Detention is being not bad enough to lose 60 games, but not good enough to make the top 6 or even the play-in. That's detention, and that's where the Kings are at right now, with a very unbalanced roster, especially in the backcourt. So I guess that's where I asked the question. Being that you are in detention, are you willing? It comes down to the number for Kuminga. What are you willing to pay Jonathan Kuminga? Because it seems like the Kings are willing. They've made an offer, according to numerous sources. They're willing to play ball. Max's whole point, besides Russ being a reason to buy a ticket, his whole point is the upside on Kuminga. With the Kings player development, I actually, I kind of like it in this timeline. I don't mind it. But again, you're going to give up some pieces to do it. And then you got to look at the dynamics in that Kings locker room. That's where it gets, exactly, basketball purgatory. You're in detention. The Kings aren't even on the playground. They what did the Kings do to get into detention? Certainly something Vivek did. We'll just put it on Vivek that they're in detention. I mean, Zach LaVine is the reason they're in detention. That's what it comes down to. And while we're on the topic of that Zach LaVine trade,
The airing of grievances.
can we get to this
I got
really
a lot
quick?
of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
And then we'll come back to the Kings. I promise you. This is somewhat Kings related. For some of you over the weekend, celebrating these reports that De'Aaron Fox may have suffered a significant injury in training that has caused him to cancel his Under Armour tour of Asia. For some of you that are like that part of the fan base, while we love our viewers and we love our fans, you don't really fit in here. This isn't the show for you if you're rooting for players that leave Sacramento to get hurt. I don't like the terms in which De'Aaron left. I also do not like the compensation that the Kings got back for De'Aaron, but I can't blame that on De'Aaron. Blame that on your owner. Now, for the other part of the audience that's like, this ain't good for De'Aaron. Well, first off, there's no clear report on what the injury is. But I would agree with you here. If it's anything that is a significant setback, there's not a report saying it is. They're calling it, per Matt GZ Man, a precautionary measure. Hopefully it's just that. But if it's not, this could not come at a worse time for De'Aaron Fox. Because right now, if you look at where the Spurs are at, De'Aaron Fox, to me, is more disposable than a lot of people think. He's not signed an extension with San Antonio. He's on the last year of his contract. De'Aaron Fox, Rich Paul at this point, I feel fairly safe in saying this, knows that if De'Aaron Fox wants to be with the Spurs long term, he's going to have to take a significant haircut. Kiss Sacramento money goodbye. He's going to have to concede to be a part of that. But at the end of the day, go back to your owner and complain about it being an awful move, that you didn't negotiate with anybody else, that you didn't get really anything tangible in return from San Antonio. I guess now you can say you did get something tangible, which is Neat Clifford. But Fox, man, I don't want to see that hate. That's not cool. So my beef, my grievance is with the Kings fans celebrating De'Aaron Fox's reported
The airing
injury.
of grievances. I got a lot
Not
of
cool.
problems with you people.
Don't do it. Don't bring it
Now,
around here.
You're going to hear about it.
I don't like it. It's bad karma. You know, I was very, very critical of De'Aaron Fox at times last season. Not celebrating any injury from De'Aaron Fox. It's not cool. Not cool at all. So we're going to keep talking Kings here in a second. We'll put some of your comments up. But we also mentioned baseball at the start of the show. Nick Kurtz had a historic night. This rookie for Oakland would be getting much more national attention if the Kings if the A's were not playing in a minor league ballpark. And my immediate reaction was I was so happy that this kid did what he did on the road in Houston. He went 6 for 6 with 4 home runs, 19 bases in all. And check out the call. You remember the Klay Thompson call that everybody talks about? Grant talks about it all the time. Him and Jerry say, I don't want to speak for Jerry, but Grant is on the record saying the most amazing thing he's seen during his career calling games was Klay Thompson's 37-point quarter. And some of the response that came in from Warriors fans about the way Grant called that quarter, being complimented as some of his best work, those were some of the biggest compliments that Grant will and has reflected on in the past. Check out how Kurtz's home runs are called. It's pretty incredible.
His hitting streak to 12 games. Now he goes inside out, deep to left. Forget about that baseball.
Come on. It's ridiculous.
His 20th of the year, make that 39 extra base hits for Kurtz on the year, and that is a screamer to left, 5-0.
Chris, this ball is just sort of flipped out of the ballpark by Nick Kurtz.
1-2, high in the air, deep left center field. Traveling back is Hummel, and it is off the wall. Cortez coming around to score, and Kurtz has a double to the deepest part of the ballpark.
Churn it up, Big Amish. A swing as smooth as butter, baby. My goodness. I mean, you close your eyes and squint, it's almost like it's a sprinkler up there because it just continues to spray in all directions. And Nick Kurtz picking on the left side here recently.
0-1 in the air to deep left. Houston, you do have a problem. His name is the Big Amish.
This kid is incredible.
10-2, his second home run of the night, his 21st of the year, and the Astro faithful are fed up with Kurtz.
And if you've got a seat to this ballgame in the Crawford boxes, just hold tight. Nick Kurtz will get you a souvenir sooner or later. I mean, what used to be impressive about a week ago is almost expected at this point with Nick Kurtz.
First pitch. Oh, my!
Oh, my goodness. It's unbelievable. This kid is on another planet. Nick Kurtz is in a universe all his own. his teammates at this moment in time are more so in awe of what Nick Kurtz is doing as opposed to celebrating what they're seeing.
Swing and a drive, deep to left. He's done it 4 times.
What a magical night for the Big Amish. Smooth as butter, baby. Turn it up. Incredible. Simply incredible.
First player in athletics history and first rookie in Major League history with a 4-homer game.
Is that going to be the highlight of the season, A's fan? I mean, that's just one of those performances that you have got to tip your hat at. Look at the smile on his face. Incredible stuff. Those are the moments that baseball needs to be marketing. Baseball should have this guy everywhere right now, doing the media tour. He should be talking to national radio shows. Promote your stars and your up and coming stars. I'm not a big baseball expert, so I don't know. You tell me if he's going to be a star. But that is such an incredible, memorable night. Probably the most memorable in A's history recent history, I would say, and definitely this season. So he takes his 13-game hitting streak into tonight. 6 of 6. That double was like off the top of the wall. Incredible stuff. Like, there's being in the zone, like in basketball. I understand that because I played basketball pretty much my entire life. Baseball, I got hit by a fastball, like in my collarbone, right around middle school. And it was against, like, you know, the kid that's bigger than everybody, the left-hander that throws hard, who ended up getting drafted by the Yankees. I could never step into a batter's box again. It was no more baseball for me. But I guess, like, when you get in that zone, I got to think that's a different zone in baseball than basketball. Same thing with golfers. When they get into that zone, and I've seen that happen. One of my friends growing up, Spencer Levine, you might or you might not be familiar with him. You may be familiar with him because of his famous hat kick antics on the PGA Tour and smoking heaters every once in a while on camera. But in reality, all joking aside, we were playing, and he was not on tour yet. He was still golfing at UCLA. We were playing at Valley High Country Club, and he had parred the first 2 holes, and he goes, all right, now I got to start actually getting my practice in. We're like, bro, you just hit the ball like 320 yards, like, and you parred the longest hole on the course. You're just getting into it now. Now you're going to start practicing. There was a different level. And so I can only imagine a baseball player in that situation on the road. And it's really cool that the Astros fans acknowledged that, just like the Kings fans acknowledged how special Grant, Jerry acknowledged Klay Thompson's 37-point quarter. So put that one away in the memory books. Probably will not be soon forgotten. So good stuff. We're talking about your move, Golden State Warriors. To me, again, getting back to the Kings, it feels like there's a shoe that needs to drop before you bring Russell Westbrook in. And if you read between the lines, it's Kuminga. Are the Kings going to be able to pull off a deal for Kuminga? And quite frankly, with the backload of guards that the Kings have, it would make sense. But I think, as I started the show and I talked about on Friday, we've got to get out of this being team mindset. Like, this thing can be revived. Go get the defibrillator. We can rehab this thing. No, you can't. It can't be revived. It needs to be rethought. And with new thinking and doing new things comes being uncomfortable, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And names that I really am high on, that I have said can fit with 29 other teams in the NBA in the snap of your thumbs, are being looked at. Could be on the line could be looking to get traded. I know everybody in Sacramento will give up Devin Carter in that deal. I know that, but let's go deeper. Keegan Murray? No. Way too much. Not going there. Keon Ellis? I don't like it, but I get it for where the Kings are at right now. I completely get it. There's mutual interest with Westbrook and the Kings. That's not news. But that mutual interest will be mutual interest until the Kings offload a guard or two. Two teams reportedly still in the Kuminga or were in the Kuminga market as of last week, would now report one of the other teams are out of the market, which would have been Phoenix Suns. First Co, what's up, man? Don't recognize your name, but welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. Keegan and Kuminga is a dream next to each other. That switchability would be fun hoops. Yeah, I could see that. And the argument that I made for Kuminga at the right price is it falls in line with the development of some of your young guys that you're going to be doing this season. There's going to be, and make no mistake about it, the Kings are a top, in my opinion, a top 5 team in the NBA between G League and the Sac Kings in developing talent. You have 2 players that were undrafted that now, Isaac Jones, he is on a full-time deal, which the Kings are going to need to get something for him. He's still going to be a work in progress. But Keon Ellis, he is a top, I would say probably a top 20 defender in the NBA off the ball, top 20, probably top 10 off the ball, top 20 overall. He's much different than Devin Carter. He's so slippery. He's very difficult to guard. He can hit an open 3. That's why he fits with everybody. So he'll continue developing. You know that. But again, you got to start looking at what you haven't looked at already, which is why you heard Scott Perry talk heavily about Keegan Murray. And if you're going to be in the mindset, which I think, and again, I think it's going to be a 3-year process. And assuming that that's going to include Keegan Murray, what are you looking at? Let's say you do go get Jonathan Kuminga. What are we looking at? Well, regardless of whether you have Schroeder and Westbrook, Schroeder will likely be he would be on the last year of his deal, which is not fully guaranteed. Westbrook, I think he would sign probably a 1-year deal, maybe with a team or a player option, probably a team option. I don't know. They get creative with that. Those 2 would probably be on their way out, transitioning out. Zach LaVine, probably transitioning out, unless he plays himself into an asset. Right now, you have to call it a liability. Nobody else wants that contract except Vivek Ranadive. So the argument that I think is smart to make, if you're in favor of Kuminga, is you have a 2-year window to develop Neat Clifford, Jonathan Kuminga, continue developing Keon Ellis, Max Reynaud, and putting a lot of focus on those guys and surrounding them with veterans on shorter deals. So when that Levine contract comes up, and I guess Domantas Sabonis, that's kind of the wild card in all this as well. Is Domas enjoying the style of play? Is he willing to be here for it? Like Devin Booker wanted to be in Phoenix through their rebuild? But you know what you're going to get out of Domas night in and night out, whether you feature him or not. And now you've gotten him a point guard, maybe 2 if Westbrook comes to Sacramento. So I'm of the opinion, I do think, because I see it the way that I just explained it, I'm looking at this completely different than the 3 years before it. I think you make that trade for Jonathan Kuminga. As long as you don't mortgage the future, you know you're giving up a good player. You knew you were giving up a good player in Tyrese Halliburton to go get Domas. And what did it do? It opened up your first playoff run in 16 years. Sure, Tyrese looks to be panning out more than I think anybody expected. But that's how teams get better, especially in a market like Sacramento. So again, Kuminga, not a slam dunk, but I think it puts you closer to getting Keegan back in that natural 3 position long term. I do like the switchability, as Co said. You got a guy that probably has a chip on his shoulder that will be playing very close to the team that kind of wrote him off, that did write him off. So when Kuminga has a good night, they're going to know about it. Conversely, if Keon has a good night, we're going to hear about it. But I think if it is Keon, if it's a Keon, Devin Carter, and a first-round pick, I think you got to do it. And you'll see Russ signed here within days, in my opinion. Which brings on what will be the biggest storyline, or one of the bigger storylines of the season, is Westbrook and Schroeder. Because you've got Schroeder making 17, you'd probably have Russ on a veteran minimum. And you might see Westbrook playing better than Schroeder at times. Russ is not going to sit back and say, yeah, I'll be the backup. No, he's going to try to start. So they will push each other, and they've played together for multiple teams. So where do y'all come out on that? It's not comfortable, again, giving up Keon, but I think you really do. It makes sense because you can't go defensive right now. Now, I'm not doing it for Keegan Murray. I'm not sure if I'm doing it for Malik Monk, because I still think Malik Monk could be a piece that plays beyond these next couple years in Sacramento. Not to mention Malik Monk is on a really fair deal. I'm sure teams that are interested in Monk are giving the Kings the other side of the envelope. Well, he hasn't finished the season the last 2 years. He's been injured. But for what you get out of Monk, and remember, last year Monk was not in his natural position when De'Aaron Fox was traded. The Kings were able to get by with JV when Sabonis was out. They were not able to get by with Malik Monk out. We don't need to rehash why. So, first Co back in. If it's Keon and Carter, the highest pick assets should be seconds. I would agree. I do agree with that. You got to figure out how to make the money work. And I'm not going to do the trade predictors and all that, but you do have to look at how the money's going to work. And that's a big consideration with Kuminga as well. What's the money? What does he want? I mean, you could make arguments on both sides of it. Max says losing Monk, not a bad deal. He's injury prone. And again, Kuminga has a higher ceiling than Monk. Okay. I don't disagree with you about ceiling. I somewhat disagree with you about injury prone. Calling Trey Lyles injury prone, calling Sasha Vazankov, remember those radio promos a couple seasons ago? Vazankov. Calling him injury prone, that's fair. I can't go there with Malik Monk. But what you are losing, Mac, And maybe what you would be backfilling with a Russell Westbrook is this, the energy. Malik Monk, make no mistake about it, he brings a different energy to that group when he steps on the floor. And also, on that same topic, behind the scenes, he's the vocal leader, for better or for worse. He leads that locker. He keeps that locker room energy balanced. When it's too high, he brings it down. When it's too low, he brings it up. So you are losing that, Mac. That's a big deal. And we haven't even talked about DeRozan in all this either. Torsha, I want to keep Keon too, but if we can't move Monk or DeRozan, we have to move somebody. Too many guards. DeRozan in this situation makes 0 sense for Golden State. They want a young player. They want, and imagine too, just Keon Ellis. And I know it doesn't matter is when the season is in full swing and you get to the break and teams really aren't practicing anymore. But Keon Ellis chasing Steph Curry around in training camp in the preseason, that would only benefit those two players. So it's really interesting. I do like that Scott's stirring the pot. I do like that. I think we're on the same page for the most part. For the most part, the Schroeder signing and the timing, tiny bit curious. Him saying that it's the guy that they targeted all along, kind of interesting. But then the signing of Dougie, when they did, Jerry was on with us Tuesday. And Jerry's like, he found it very curious. First thing I said was the timing's curious. There wasn't going to be a run on Doug McDermott. It takes two parties to tango, Matthew. It's not just it takes two to tango. You also have to look at the balance of the NBA. We put this map up. Shoot, how long ago did we put this map up? We did a show on this probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. And we said, who would be willing to take on DeRozan right now? Like, which team needs that push over the edge? And slowly we started marking teams off the list. When Michael Porter Jr. heads to Brooklyn and Cam Johnson heads to Denver, okay, that need's gone. Minnesota, maybe, but they're already in the tax. New ownership, another ball stopper, sixth man. DeMar wouldn't want to be there, probably. Clippers, definitely know that's not happening. So what you have to hope for now with DeMar DeRozan, if you think you're still going to move him, is it's going to come at the trade deadline. That's where it would have to be. Because if it's at the trade deadline, that's probably like your last chance to get fair or maybe even good value for DeMar, because then you're getting into an expiring contract that's non-guaranteed on that next season. So pay attention to injuries, pay attention to teams that are underachieving. That would have to be a trade deadline move. But again, I think there's a strong argument about development this season. Really, for me, I think is about development. Probably some gas thrown on that fire with Neek and Max's performances in Vegas. But I think this year is all about development. What can this look like 4 years down the road, 3 years down the road? And it's not going to be fun getting there, but I think you're going to have some fun moments with some of the younger guys. But I like it. I'm good with Kuminga at the right price. Some of you have said it. So all good with it. Let's get into another grievance. I told you that this was a very notable sports weekend. I also said that it was a very weird sports weekend. Something that I found extremely weird, and I even had to hit up. Have you seen people on Twitter? Have you seen people on Twitter asking at Grok, which is Twitter X's AI tool, questions like who's the most famous follower? Or who is the most famous person to visit my page? Questions like that. Who's the stalker on my page? That kind of stuff. When I saw the video that came out of Baylor's head football coach, Dan Aranda, excuse me, I had to ask Grok. I'm like, is this legit or is this AI? Because I love those AI football videos or even basketball videos right after a game that come out where it's like the player, what you think they really want to say, but they could never say. I get a kick out of those. And so when this video hit my timeline and this statement hit my timeline, I'm like, this has to be one of those. It has to be AI. Listen to what coach answers a question with.
There's a scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where they're talking about throwing midgets, and it's like, hey, this midget, can he roll there? And you go, no, he doesn't roll. You throw him. You know what I mean? And they're made for throwing. And then after a while, they start talking, and they go, well, you know what? I think if you start talking, they may think they know we're making fun of them.
Don't make no
The midgets may think we're making fun of them. So then I'm gonna start. They may get mad at us, and then the guys go, well, what we need to do is make them think they're one of us. And they go, one of us. And I think that's the thing with coaching, call it, and recruiting. It's that way. They talk about acquiring players, getting rid of players, just like that. And the whole thing underneath all that is they make them think they're one of us. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I don't know. Do you have to do that to win? That sucks. Yeah. There's a scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where they're talking about throwing midgets.
Where do I even start? I mean, no disrespect. No disrespect. I believe, what is the correct term? It's not midget. I don't believe it's midget. But we're not even talking about the correct term. We're talking about throwing them. We're not talking about going to a midget wrestling show over the weekend and seeing some moves that you didn't expect. But like that came out of absolutely nowhere. And now he has joined a very elite club. Little person. I think that's it. Yeah. He has joined a very elite club. Welcome to the party, coach, to Miss South Carolina.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future.
You two are now part of a club. They're going to fit in great together. But you know what? There's another person in that club that we can't forget. Coach, Miss Teen, Miss South Teen, or Miss Teen South Carolina. You've got another member in that club. Way more famous, but you're not alone. Welcome to the club, Giannis.
Oh my God. Okay, because I'm not that up. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get the promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide the house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. And if you've never, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure. That's what you're telling me. No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports.
Anybody else belong in the club? I mean, is somebody not making eye contact with coach, the school's SID, and doing this? How he kept going and justifying. I couldn't believe it. I mean, listen to this again. What are we talking about here?
There's a scene in The Wolf of Wall Street when they talk about throwing midgets, and it's like, hey, this midget, can he, can he roll there? And you go, no, he doesn't roll. You throw him. You know what I mean? And they're made for throwing. And then after a while, they start talking, and they go, well, you know what? I think if you start talking, they may think they know we're making fun of them. The midgets may think we're making fun of them.
You trusting this dude to draw up your plays? Like, if you're a recruit that just got to Baylor, if you're the quarterback of Baylor, do you think this guy can get that playoff into your ear in 15 seconds without going into throwing people?
So then I'm going to start, they may get mad at us. And then the guys go, well, what we need to do is make them think they're one of us. And they go, one of us. And I think that's the thing with coaching, call it recruiting, is it's that way. They talk about.
Okay, so hold on. We need to make them think that they're one of us. What are you guys, Globo Gym? We're better than you and we knew it. Seriously, though, we need to make them think that they're one of us. Isn't the whole point of recruiting trying to bring in the people that are supposed to be one of you, that fit your culture? I know that NIL, the transfer portal, schools paying kids directly now, has thrown this system off the rails. But we're at the same point that we have to, that's used car salesman stuff right there. We have to think. We have to make them think that if they drive this car, they're going to get girls. We have to. We have to make them think that they're as cool as us who drive the same Honda Civic because we sell cars and chase people around parking lots. We have to make them think cool as one of us.
Acquiring players, getting rid of players, just like that. And the whole thing underneath all that is they make them think they're one of us. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I don't know. Do you have to do that to win?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Maybe we should play that for Jerry tomorrow. What do you think? Should we play that for Jerry tomorrow? Jerry, did you ever use this analogy while recruiting in college? Oh my gosh. Goodness. Haunted horse calling out my format. Ryan, are you going to Kenny Smith filling up his gas tank next. No.
Who's next to you? There's a woman next to you.
That's my daughter.
Not a good moment for you, Horse. Dang, who's that? Who's that girl next to you? Not even a girl. Who's that woman next to you?
Who's next to you? There's a woman next to you.
That's my daughter.
That's my daughter. Come on, Horse. I mean, I can go to that. I'll go to that next, Horse. Yeah, one of us. Good stuff. I mean, Horse, looking at this girl all show. Dang, man. I wonder what her name is. She might be my 5th ex-wife. I could see that. You know what? I can't ask. I shouldn't ask. That'd be inappropriate to ask. I don't want to do that. You know, like, what if he dated her? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to burn a bridge with a friend. But man, there's just something about her. You know what? I'm gonna do it. Is my wife listening? No, she's not. Okay, I'm going for it. I'm diving in head first.
Who's next to you? There's a woman next to you.
That's my daughter.
Rejected. A bad look, Horse. It's okay. It's okay, Horse. All good. So happy to have you here on the Kings Court. We are rolling along on a Monday. We do have one other grievance. We can keep talking Kings basketball as well. Grant tonight will be with you 7 o'clock. Join him for open forum. And he'll be taking your calls as well. We love taking calls here on the channel. He'll be talking the weekend sports. Lots to talk about. Talking Kings as well. So get up in here. And if you have any questions at football training camps, by the way, open and going, and injuries already, which is the worst part of training camps. 49ers had a scary one yesterday. Seems like he's going to be okay moving his extremities per Kyle Shanahan. Don't remember the name of the player, but Grant will have all of that for you tonight at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow, Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. You know it. He will be here at the 4 o'clock hour, spend about 45 minutes with us talking NBA, taking your questions as all. We'll hash out his thoughts on Kuminga and Westbrook. Very interesting stuff. I mean, remember, like, bringing in Russ Westbrook, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but bringing in Russ is not like bringing in like a Chris Paul. Like Chris Paul going to the Clippers, he's a chameleon for the most part. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to set his teammates up. He's going to hit an occasional shot. He can play 20, 25 minutes a night, you know, but he tends to, you know, find his ways to fit in with the group. Russ Westbrook historically tries to make the group fit in with him, which at this point with this Kings roster, I don't know is a bad thing, but that has not been finalized. A lot of smoke out there. There's interest on both sides. I've heard the same, but my understanding is the Kuminga shoe or any other possible deal the Kings might have to move a guard needs to fall before you sign Russ. Because, in fact, here's my argument to why it has to happen. You're going to lose leverage if you bring Russ on before making a deal for any of the other guards. Because now, although it seems like it should be blatantly obvious that the Kings need to move guards, now you have to move guards. So do you lose a little bit of power at the negotiating table? Is value not quite the same? So I think that's why you've got to get some guards off first. And I think the most accepted name, and we love him, I think if this was going to be a defensive team right now, you don't part with him. But I think it's Keon Ellis. I hate it. I love Keon. He's one of those guys that was just born a defender. Like a point guard, you either have that in you or you don't. He's a pest. And I could understand why the Warriors would want a player like that. Keegan Murray would be off the table for me. Also, I probably would not want to part ways with Malik Monk either, because I think he can be a part of what I think is going to be a 3-year plan for this team. It's getting the DeRozan, getting the Levine contracts off the book while simultaneously giving your young guys a decent amount of minutes and putting them into that development hub that has produced Keon Ellis, that is starting to produce Isaac Jones. You got to get Max Neek, Kuminga, if he's part of that. It's the right time to incubate those guys because I think you don't quite know what you have yet. So let me know where you stand on all of that. Let's get back to the chat. And then we have got one more grievance today. Dennis, Monk is probably gone. Monk needs to have a great comeback season, man. Matt, I don't know that. I mean, for 3/4 of the season, Malik Monk had the best assist to turnover ratio on the Kings. And a lot of that was because De'Aaron Fox failed the Kings at running the point the way that they, I believe, wanted to play. What worked the Beam team year. This completely opposite dual-headed monster of Domas being able to facilitate from the perimeter and De'Aaron Fox being able to run past you at a drop of a dime. Well, year 2 after the playoffs, not so much running past you, more of a step back for a 3. So all the facilitating fell onto Domantas Sabonis, which is why the burn rate was high. Turnovers were up. Last year, you thought it was going to be readjusted. You were concerned a little bit about DeMar being a ball stopper. But Fox, outside of that 2-week span that Foxy had, where he scored 109 in 2 nights, he was not being that point guard. He just wasn't. And if you pull back from there and you zoom out, you can say he's not really that point guard. He's a score first point guard, not a create. So that's where the Kings failed. They thought those duo guards fit perfectly with that 2-headed monster running the show, and it just kind of burned out. But Malik, the pick and roll, I said this consistently, even going back 2 years ago, the pick and roll for the Kings was one of the best plays. And when Malik Monk entered the starting lineup, that's when the offense went away from the DHOs and went to the pick and roll. And that connection with Monk and Sabonis, very hard to stop. Now, Monk put a couple of counters into it, the snake dribble, which I thought he did a little too much. It's a good counter to do once, maybe every game, not once every 3 or 4 possessions. But the pick and roll, historically, in Monk's time here in Sacktown with Domantas Sabonis, has proven to me that those two guys make each other better. You can't say that De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis made each other better. You can say Sabonis made Fox better, but you can't say Fox made Sabonis better. There wasn't that pick and roll element. I'm with Nathaniel. I think Monk's got to be here, Dennis. I just do. Dennis, we got to look at it different. This isn't going to be a defensive team. So if this isn't going to be a defensive team, and it's going to be roll the ball out and score more than the opponent, where's Keon's minutes going to come? If you, again, this is where you've got to look. You know you're giving away something good, something that's a little more personal because you grew it here in Sacramento. He developed in front of every fan's eye. But if that can get or be part of the value that gets you something that has a better upside. Jerry Reynolds talks about it all the time. You got to find the guys that are on the verge where the upside undefined, or it could be less than what you think you are getting. But those are the guys that you have to take when you're in a small market to be able to grow your team. I think the Kings are in a very similar situation like Oklahoma City was at before they traded for SGA. And maybe into that first year with SGA. That's kind of how you have to look at stuff. Now, you don't have the draft capital, obviously, that Oklahoma City was able to amass, but this is all about the young guys. And I still think Monk is one of those. Do you need that 3-and-D off the bench? Sure, you do. Absolutely not. Not a chance in the world, dude. Trade him for Ayton? Come on, man. The Lakers would not do that deal either. Come on, Horsey.
Not so fast, midget. Not so fast.
Midget?
Yeah, little guy.
Yeah, not happening. All right, let's close this show out with my last grievance. Nikola Jokic, famously known for being one of, if not, best basketball player in the world right now. Nikola Jokic, who sometimes has to be pulled off the bench and told, hey, it's time to start practice. Come on, you got to switch gears. The same guy that was when he won an NBA championship was like, okay, that's what we're supposed to do. Same guy that was disappointed that he couldn't get back to his horses. He was in the news this weekend. You know, he's such a good basketball player, but you don't always see that same passion. Doesn't mean that he doesn't bring it, but you don't see like the same passion about the horses that you do with basketball. And so Jokic, back in his home country, back in his home country, was attending one of his horses' race, or the race of one of his horses. The horse ended up winning, and Jokic starts getting really excited, starts tearing up, and he hops the fence.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
He hops the fence out of excitement, right? And it's like, dude, he gets it. This is it for him. This is his passion. Well, all of you that are out there saying that he hopped the fence because he was so excited that his horse won, you're wrong. He was so excited that jockey survived. Look at that. Would you ever in a million years ride a horse like that? It looked terrifying. The wheels are shaking. This guy's back is at what, like a 45-degree, almost 90-degree angle that can't feel great. You're leaning back too and somehow controlling this horse. Jokic was crying because the jockey didn't die. It wasn't because the horse didn't win. That's why he ran up and hugged the jockey. You have to see the race to know what I'm talking about. But any of you saying Jokic was emotional because the horse won, you're wrong.
The airing of grievances.
That's my grievance.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
He was just happy that jockey survived. Like, how much are you paying or being paid to get on that horse and ride that race like that jockey? No chance. My buddy Darren in Cunha trying to get me to go off-road biking with him. Guy's broken like every bone in his body. I'm like, Jokic knew that like that's the case for this jockey. Must be nice to be Jokic's jockey. That's got to be pretty good. Good pay. His friend survived the race. That's why he was crying and emotional. Come on. Clearly, we all knew that. So anyways, oh man, what a Monday show. Heck of a Monday show, especially for the dead time in the summer. If you liked it, do me a favor. Give us a big thumbs up. Would really appreciate it. We are on our march to get one more thumbs up every day on the show than the day before. Thank you for all that have been supporting that. Remember, too, you can always take us with you on the go. If you can't watch the video, download the audio. You can go to grantnapier.com. You can also go to Spotify and Apple, wherever you find your podcast. You can look up The King's Court with Rhino. You can look up If You Don't Like That with Grant Napier. There's the YouTube link to subscribe as well. You know what Jokic would have done if that race was in America. He would have been so damn excited that horse won that he would have taken and celebrated with that jockey. He would have taken him to the best steakhouse in the area. Prime Cuts, Seafood and Steak, Bennett's. That horse race was at Cal Expo. They would have rented out Bennett's. Would have had the whole restaurant. If you've been, you know what I'm talking about. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Go check out. There are 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area. I mentioned the steak. The seafood is incredible as well. Love the redfish. His haunted horse is probably putting into the chat right now. But the cool thing about Bennett's is you're getting that high quality food and experience without the high bill that comes with it. Almost every day, check that, every day, they run specials. Happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Did you make it out for weekend brunch this weekend? 11 to 2 p.m., $45.99, 2 entrees, bottle of champagne for the wife. Can't beat that. Prime rib on the weekends tonight, Monday night wine and dine, 2 entrees, bottle of wine, under $70. It's affordable. It's incredible. It is our favorite place. Holds a special place in our hearts on this channel. We actually had our head shaved there a few years back, Grant and I, for charity, and many of you showed up for that. So thank you for that. Go check them out. 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area, Rockland, Roseville, and Howe and Fair Oaks. If you go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, you can check out all the specials, including the new Taste of Summer menu. But you got to go to the website to check it out, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can make reservations and also put in your to-go orders there. Can any of us, can you debate this? If I said, like, this is the most famous horse race in the history of horse racing? Do you remember the one where it's like, my wife knows everything. My wife doesn't know anything. Around the turn. My wife knows everything. My wife doesn't know everything. Around the turn. Like, I'm wondering, we've got to have that audio here. Where is that audio at? That's got to be here. Do we have that audio? I hope we didn't lose that audio. That's such a, that is like probably the best horse call of all time and the most ironic horse call of all time too. My wife knows everything. My wife knows nothing at all. Do we have the audio? No. Do we have
talking about this?
I do want to talk about it. Come on. Yes, they are good. Last bill, $70. Redfish. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you, brother. They just ended horse racing at Cal Expo. Yeah, I heard that. Actually. Is that because they raced like that? That's scary, man. That is some scary stuff. Yeah, I don't think we got that audio anymore. We don't have the wife knows everything. It got lost when we were redoing all of our audio. So yeah, we'll have to get that one back. That is a classic, no doubt. So anyways, Grant tonight, 7 o'clock, join him. Appreciate all of you. If it's your first time on the channel, thank you for coming by. If you're here on the audio replay or you're checking us out tomorrow, whenever it may be, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk Kings, talk Peter. The version about marriage divorce is the best horse race. I have not heard that one. Is there really one? Let's see. Horse race. You said marriage and divorce? Can't do that. I don't see Peter. I don't see that one. See, this is the one that we always hit.
Coming after Lady Mutada coming to the quarter pole. Lady Mutada in front. Here come My Wife Knows Everything. And The Wife Doesn't Know on the far outside. Little Miss Macho is fourth. They're into the stretch. Lady Mutada, My Wife Knows Everything. Center of the track, The Wife Doesn't Know. Into the final furlong. My Wife Knows Everything. The Wife Doesn't Know. They're 1-2. Of course they are. My Wife Knows Everything in front. To the outside, The Wife Doesn't Know. My Wife Knows Everything. The Wife Doesn't Know. My Wife Knows Everything. More than The Wife Doesn't Know. Whew. Miss Tallahassee was third. And Mornings.
Classic. The other one said the language isn't good, so I can't go there. You know, we got to keep it professional and adult. Nathaniel, and I'll get back to my closing, but Nathaniel, Kings fan since 2005, 2006. That was their last year of the playoffs before breaking the drought in 22-23. Kings did things really bad, but I can't wait for a good run next couple of seasons. See what the new GM can do for the team. Yeah, look, we're right there, kind of split in the middle when you talk about Scott Perry. I did not like the intro presser. Certainly was not a fan on the terms that he was brought in, the way it was done. I mean, he was already he had already agreed informally to be the GM before Monty was fired. It was announced that night, and he was told Doug would be the coach. So, and then you get the first press conference, kind of like that used car salesman vibe. But ever since, and then the second press conference, some of the timelines. The timeline of hiring a coach matched what he said in the first press conference, but the timeline to meet with everybody in the building was completely off of what he said in the first press conference. So you're kind of mixed there. But then his draft night 1 press conference, when he laid out the reasons they picked Neek, it felt like a different Scott Perry. Like there wasn't as much of a show. And I can understand now looking back why there was a show. He's being introduced by himself. He's got to do everything. Doesn't have a coach next to him. Doesn't have an owner next to him that should have been. But he was different draft night 1. And everything he said made sense. He got you what likely would have been 2 second-round picks because the Spurs are going to be in the playoffs within 2 years. Turns that into a 1 in a year that you needed a 1. And not only that, a guy that had played multiple years in college and was more ready than some of the younger guys to make the jump to the NBA and Neek. And then you see him do basically the same thing with Max. Now, Max and Neek are on a little bit different timelines because of their bodies. But that really changed my opinion. That got me excited. It did. And then hearing some of his stuff about Keegan got me excited. But then the shooter thing, I didn't like it initially, but I can't fully judge it. The McDermott thing, same kind of thing. Nothing against Doug. He did his job last year. He came in and shot threes when he was asked to. But why sign him that early? You know, those little things. So the jury's out, but I think the good so far for me outweighs the bad. I am pleasantly surprised with Scott Perry thus far. So we will see, though, ultimately, once we get around to training camp and then basketball, we're almost there. This is the dead time in the NBA right now. It's the dead time in the league. Before you know it, you're going to have this week, I believe, the Hall of Fame game in football. Camps are open. We're going to have week 1 of the NFL season. And before you know it, the Kings are in training camp and we are starting the preseason. So we are right there. We are right there. Again, as I was saying, thank you very much for letting us letting me into your homes, your cars, your ears, wherever you might be at. Always a pleasure talking Kings basketball and other sports topics for the most part with all of you. Glad everybody had an awesome weekend. Can't wait to be back tomorrow. Remember, Jerry Reynolds with me tomorrow. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. They're not just for tacos. They're for Jerry Reynolds too. Right, Jerry? He's going to bring it.
Every team really needs what I call a shitbird.
Yep. He is our resident Kings Court shipper. But before then, Grant, 7 o'clock tonight. Join him. Thank you, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Go Kings, light the beam. Court's dismissed.
Order in the court.